Sure, I am connected to Mr. Behra. Delhi re ame misikri ame gote Delhi re program karthilu amara Habitat Center re. Au mu setebele mate bahut khushi lagila Mr. Behra को support करिया पई and सब बेले ame touch रे थाउ. Au mu तांको कहली जे तुमरा startup company मानन को any support you want in Orissa आमे support करिबा केना ओडिसा रु ओडिसा रे हमर बहुत बड़ा presence अछि. आउ आईआईटी भुवनेश्वर आमे तयारी करूछु आउ सम ये हमरो रेवेन्सा कॉलेज रेवेन्सा यूनिवर्सिटी उत्कल यूनिवर्सिटी एक्सपेंशन भी आमे करूछु. आईएम संबलपुर भी आमे करूछु. राउरकेला स्टील प्लांट रो जो हॉस्पिटल अछि ताकू भी एक्सपेंशन करूछु. पीएमजीएस वर्क रे हमर ओडिसा रे भी भलो प्रेजेंस अछि. केवल ओडिसा रे ही एतिक अछि. बाकी छाडी की सब स्टेट रे हमर प्रेजेंस अछि. तेनु स्टार्टअप कंपनी मानन को किछ जति सपोर्ट दरकार ताले आमे तांको सपोर्ट करि पारिबु.
Oh, great. बढ़िया.
So, Santanu sir,
already
start कर दें तो.
Yeah. Start. Okay. So Amit, you can mute everyone and except Saurabh and me.
Sure, sure. Done, sir. Continue. Saurabh sir, am I audible?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, fine. Then check.
So my screen is visible to all of you? Amit?
Yeah.
Okay. So good evening, dear participants and our speaker, Mr. Saurabh Rath, and all Mr. Behra, who is the founder president of Odisha Corporate Foundations, and other distinguished member of OCF, and dear students and ladies and gentlemen. So welcome to this live webinar on the navigating changes seamlessly, and there's nuances, in fact, the art and science of the understanding and managing the changes. Before we get into the session, we'd like to have a brief overview of what this Odisha Corporate Foundation is all about, especially those who are members and those who have been associated with the activities of OCF. They have a fair understanding of what is it that we are trying to do at this point of time, and what is it that we want to do in future. But however, those who do not know what we are and what kind of activities we do. So for them, a quick overview as to what is our vision is going to look like in future as OCF is building in terms of its activities and in terms of its outreach and spread all over India as well as all over the world. That we are trying to become a preferred partner or a destination for entrepreneurs, those who have within Odisha and also outside Odisha and also abroad. So what is our reason, why we came into existence? Odisha has been considered, has been lagging behind so far as entrepreneurial mindset is concerned, ecosystem is concerned. So OCF was conceptualized and was born out of this to fill this gap and void, and to create an entrepreneurial ecosystem in the state, by utilizing the latent potential of the prospective budding entrepreneurs and unleashing the spirit. So within and outside, those the youth who are looking forward to set up their enterprises in Odisha. So here OCF is all out to extend our support and cooperations. So as I told you, this was born out of collective commitment. In fact, our Mr. H.K. Behera was the founder who took the lead. He was the pioneer to have conceptualized this organizations, and it came out of a collective commitment of different policy makers spread across, again, India, and academicians, leading academicians of business school and different engineering colleges, reputed institutions, and industry veterans and experts from public sector as well as private sectors and diverse industries, again, pan-India, to bring together all global ODIA entrepreneurs. And at the same time, also, there were many industry professionals in different verticals, functional verticals, those who have gathered on this platform. Kindly mute. I think, Amit, I think there is a noise in the background.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, done, sir. Continue.
No, it's not muted. I can hear the background noise. But I request all that please, if you have unmuted or mute yourself, and we'll be having Q&A sessions. You'll have plenty of time to interact. So in terms of our, growth, we have been growing really fast, and we have around 13 chapters spread across India. And we have a web-based chapter also to connect to the global ODIA professionals like Saurabh Rath is here from Canada also. He is one of the well-wisher and patron of OCF. And other ODIA community, those who have been very passionate also to lend their expertise and knowledge to the budding entrepreneurs. And what we do exactly, we engage with industry as well as government. We come in between the industry as well as the government partnership. We try to strengthen this partnership. And also we actively engage with government and different policy makers and very senior bureaucrats in industry department, in MSMEs, and in agriculture departments, and other departments also at Government of Odisha level as well as Government of India level. So in terms of policy advocacy, wherever we feel that yes, there is some extra to be done depending on the feedback we get from different entrepreneurs in terms of their past experience. So we try to come in between and bridge that gap. And so far as academic engagement is concerned, I think this is in infancy. This is just starting, and we are trying to reach out to different universities and colleges, and because the manner in which the education has been largely disrupted, so as the economic growth will take some time to really look better, maybe another 2 years or 3 years. In the meantime, there has been a lot of emphasis on growing this, promoting this entrepreneurial mindset among the students, so they become job creators instead of becoming job seekers. And also we are into consultancy. I think we have a lot of domain experts across different verticals, and those who want to again share their knowledge and wisdom and their practical experience over a period of time. So the focus area so far has been largely on agri-business and also textile handlooms. These are very key sectors where in fact Odisha is really rich at. I think this is going to generate a lot of employment opportunities. That is the reason why OCF has been constantly focusing on this, as well as downstream industries and with different industrial clusters spread across Odisha, IT and ITS and EdTech. And I think OCF has been trying to gather all these industrialists and the entrepreneurs on one hand, policymakers on another, and the budding or aspirational entrepreneurs, those who want to become. So for them, in fact, Mr. Saurabh Rath, I'll introduce, I'll share his profile at the end of my presentations. He's the one who is very keen again to share his long experience also in building a entrepreneurial mindset. We'll talk about it later on. So moving on, I would like to pose a questions, because sometimes the webinar becomes a kind of a monologue. So I would like to start with a questions that you share in one word in your Q&A. You have chat box or Q&A. What is it that you feel very strongly about the challenge of change, especially the COVID-19 pandemic or crisis that has really affected all of us as an individual, as a community, as a professional, as a student, as a parent, guardian, and as an businessman, as a in our workplace. So, what is it that you feel very emotionally feel strongly about? How it has affected your life? So, whether you feel stuck in the sense that you are not able to move forward, you are not sure, you are kind of confused, in a state of confusion, or aggrieved, or frustrated, or somebody might have lost a job, or might have had a very bad experience during this pandemic in terms of health. So, what is it that in one word you'd like to describe your feeling? I'd like to put it in the chat box. And those who have been very very successful, in the sense that those who are trying to adapt to this fast changes during COVID-19 crisis, we have really trying to almost the early fear part and the panic part, I think that is over, that has blown over. Now we have had a fair understanding, all are waiting for anxiously for eagerly for the the vaccine. So what do you feel about your learning habit, whether you have picked up new learning habit, and to that extent how you are making progress? I think that if you can put in one word, I think that would be good for us, for our speaker also to pick up some of your thoughts as to how he'll go about designing the rest of the webinar. And looking at another aspect, many of us have grappled with this challenge of COVID-19. Many of us have been talking about this crisis is not a crisis, but this is a new opportunity. So this is a new opportunity. Many of the we have seen many of the young entrepreneurs, they are converting this pain points into entrepreneurial opportunity. And many of us also trying to figure it out what we are. We have had plenty of time to look within, look at our attitudes, look at our value systems, as to how we are trying to rediscover ourselves, and also how we are trying to get back our good old habits. Somebody is trying to pick up his old hobby, like picking up music, dance. Many are trying to make very bold experimentations to rediscover themselves. And at the same time, many of us are trying to connect to the people who are in need of help. If you are a HR leader, if you are heading an organization, especially if you are a true leader, so it is the empathy or the compassion. These values have become very important at this point of time. It is not only enough to talk about it, but it is important to put these values to the practice. This is the time, and live for others. So what is it that you have, whether you have truly transformed, you have discovered yourself and transformed yourself? Please share in one word in the Q&A sections. I'll just pause for a minute so that you can. Saurabh, you are trying to see the audience are trying to respond. Are we getting some response? Or
No, I didn't
much?
see anything in the chat box actually.
There is nothing in the chat, as well as no raise hand also.
No, you don't need to raise hand. All I'm saying is we'll language to Odia misamisi kari kaiva na gandi kariva. How do we do it?
Chat box, I don't see anyone entering any information.
Okay, then I'll move on. So maybe
Continue,
they'll
then
take
last Q&A karibe, sir.
Yeah, I think we are getting some response.
Gotte word re kaive, whether you are really trying to do something different, or you are still stuck up bit of
Yeah, I got the first one is time to reinvent ourselves from Priyadarshita.
or
Singh.
feeling helpless, looking for help, or you're not able to adjust to the changes. Kind of, you can put it in one word. Okay.
Yeah.
So as we go along, just gather your thoughts. You can put it in the Q&A chat box, right? So I'll move on. Okay, let us see. The COVID-19 pandemic. What kind of changes, radical changes it has brought about, and those visuals are very self-explanatory. You can see the young lady sitting right on the sofa, and her pet. There's a cat there also. She's trying to work from home, and we have had a lot of new habits coming in, like compulsory mandatory washing of hands, and how you wash your hands also, that is another habit. In spite of when we started doing it, it was a bit of a struggle. Now this has become a very common thing. So that you can see that even this is another folk artist who is trying to give a very loud message that even if gods come to the earth, he has to also wear a mask. So wearing a mask has become fairly mandatory for everyone. And there are a lot of we are all homebound. There are a lot of restrictions on the movement, travel. All companies have cut down travels almost 99%, except for some emergency. Or there's no participation. People are not going out to take part in any physical event. So all from remote locations, remote meeting, remote conference, and no meetings, physical meetings with vendors or partners or supply chains. And organizations have, we have heard, like Google or all technology company, they have announced that till July 2021, all will be operating from home. So no coming back to office. So these are some of the developments, the aftermath, the COVID-19, and these are some of the new normals we are talking about. Yes, we have adjusted to such changes, and we have picked up these new habits. But how this habit came about, I think this is where I think Saurav is going to tell us. So understanding changes, this came out of a survival instinct, or this came out of our growth mindset, or I think we'll be trying to delve deeper into this. Again, some of the behavioral changes, like you can't greet someone, then you have to elbow, knock your elbows together. And you can see that remote, all these remote meetings happening, and all the Zoom meetings right now. All of us are connected through this Zoom meeting and webinar. So those have become the new norm. And interesting is that we are adopting technology in a big way. I think all of us are learning, in spite of the fact that the early adopters, like the young children, the young people, they're quick to learn. They're quick learners. But at the same time, at our age group, I think 50 plus, we are also trying to adopt this new habits of watching TV, stream all this Netflix or Amazon Prime. Everybody is homebound. So these habits of watching TV is changing. Then everybody is into social media, and in a big way. I think 35% or more due to this. This is Accenture global survey, and will be so 27% will be continue also even after COVID-19. So video chat is increasing because you can't see physically each other. So that is how video chat has become new norm. Then online shopping has been a boom. I think everybody is booking online. So delivery boy, those have become new norms. Look at the educations. I think all the parents, as parents, all of us are worried when we think of the way the children is stuck in the online learning, and sometimes the children is under tremendous pressure because he or she is fed up with online learning. So there have been attempts also for reopening of schools, but again for fear of second wave or whatever, because many of the schools are not equipped to abide by the protocols, or there might be again the community infections are spreading. I think the government again is rethinking, no, will not reopen the schools, but in some cases, in some countries, they have gone ahead, but after having experienced some kind of again infections, they have closed down. So you see the education also, there is a lot of disruption happening there. Many of the rich students who have access to online tools and internet, or smartphones or laptops, all these gadgets. I think they are fairly, trying to avail this education board. But at the same time, UNICEF tells us that many of the students who do not have a household computer or internet, or they are not able to access this online learning. So many have been left out of this education systems. There is every possibility that they may drop out also. So this is a huge setback for the uh, for the especially education students and educators also. So here we come to a kind of a what do you say, that change cycle, how we are trying to adopt. I think the first phase of the if we look back, if we step back for a while, March or February, when the COVID-19 started surfacing. So there was a lot of confusion that started happening, but nobody knew what this new thing is all about, how it is going to behave, what this novel coronavirus is all about. So there was shock, there was fear, there was panic. So we could not accept the situations. So normally, whenever such changes happen across the globe, so there'll be a lot of avoidance, confusion and kind of a shock. So from there, we started getting, homebound. We started adopting the, you can't move out, then you have to do this, you can't go out to office, you can't go to temple, you can't go to. So the frustrations of, started rising. And so along the irritations and the anxiety, the fear of uncertainty also started growing. But somewhere along the way, we started also trying to find out, the meaning as to how, why we are here. And, it does not acceptance, but along the way, we started struggling to find the meaning and reaching out to others, and also trying to protect ourselves, protect our near and dear ones. And from there also we had a sense of helplessness, because many those who were afflicted with coronavirus, they were trying to recover. Some have been lucky, some were not lucky. So we lost many of us might have lost our near and dear ones. And our founder president also, it was very tragic. He lost his son. So there was a kind of a depressions from a depressions until the time we find our vaccine. So we are trying to rediscover, accept the new reality. Yes, I think these are the new habits we must pick up, and we must just accept the changes, and life must go on. And then there was a dilemma between life and livelihood. So I think the economy also has started, the government, after flattening the curve, after learning from all the experience, the other global experience, they have also, the economy is trying to, there are encouraging signs that economic growth is picking up. In a way, yes, we have accepted the new reality. There's a new plan in place. We are trying to, renew ourselves, recharge ourselves, but the life has to go on, move on. So that is how this cycle is all about. This is another interesting slide. I'll just briefly tell you how this COVID-19 and also migration to a S curve, new S curve. New S curve means, if you look at the world war, post globalizations, and the technology, the economy has been really moving really fast, fueled by the global technology, information technology boom, internet economy. And all of a sudden we have seen this, this post-war S curve has been flattened. All of a sudden the global economy has come to a standstill. The growth and the life, everything has come to a standstill. So we see a very new S curve coming from the pandemic reset. And suddenly there has been, we have been trying, things are picking up, things are becoming better with the adoption of, digital tools, and people are trying to adjust to the new realities, and they are very determined to fight back and make sure that yes, life must be normal, even though there is a threat, looming for second wave or third wave. It may strike any point of time, but the human spirit, indomitable human spirit, that the life must go on. So this is where we must look within now, having looked at the world around us. So where are we on our current S curve of learning? So is it that we have already gone over those depression phase, the initial phase? Are we trying to re-energize and rediscover ourselves, re-energize ourselves, reignite ourselves, and are we trying to learn somewhere on the mastery curve? I think that is still far away, but we are somewhere in the middle. Yes. Let us look at another interesting, I think Saurabh also will try to take us, explain this boiling frog syndrome. Many of us must have heard of this. What is this boiling frog syndrome? Many of us have gone through this kind of experiences in our life. So whenever we see a very sudden, change, or let us see there is a fire, in your house, or there is an explosion somewhere where you are walking by. So suddenly you run away from the situations. So here on the left side, hand of the slide, you see the frog is jumping immediately the moment it gets into an hot water. So it immediately jumps. So that is a crisis kind of a reactions. So this is what we normally do when we come across a real crisis, when our life is in danger. So we try to behave in that way. We run away from the place. On the other hand, you see on the right hand side also, this boiling frog syndrome is often used as a metaphor, because you put the frog in a water, in a cold water, in a tepid water, then suddenly increase the temperature. So the frog starts, thinking that, okay, I can, I may not jump, things are cool, until it turns, negative against you, and the frog dies. The meaning of this experiment is, sometimes we are not able to adjust to the changes or the events. So there's a choice, whether you have to change, or you jump, or you run away from the place, or adjust to it, or you perish. We have a choice sometimes. You don't have a choice when such kind of dilemma hunts us. So there's a very interesting study, to reinforce this boiling frog syndrome in University of California. So there was a study done some time back. So they wanted to, the scientist, this is a climate scientist, was trying to conduct a study. What kind of weather do people find remarkable? Which is very unusual with the global temperature rising, or the climate change risk is on the increasing. What kind of weather? Weather is constantly changing. The frequency of natural disasters like cyclonic storms and earthquakes, these are becoming the new things. We have seen in Philippines, for the fourth time, fifth time, the cyclonic storms or typhoons are hitting there. So what kind of weather do people find remarkable, very unusual? So how does it change? How does it often change? And what is the public perception of climate change? So these are the three questions which were posed to the people across the globe, across the world. This was a global survey. The interesting finding came out was, people have very short memories when it comes to what is normal weather, because on average they think, what happened in the last 2 to 5 years, they all remember those weather. For example, and now in Odisha we have experienced many cyclones, during last 6 to 7 years. So you can't be able to, if I ask someone that what is that cyclonic storm which hit in 2015 or 2017, so you can't recall. All you can recall is, yes, it was very intense, it was not very intense. So you have a very short memory so far as climate changes are concerned. But if you see the historical data, how the global temperature or the climate is changing, so sometimes there is a disconnect, because people have a very short memory about what has happened in the last 30, 40 years, the way the temperature is changing. So we are somewhat, kind of forgetful, what impact it is going to have in the long future, on our next generations, or how this global climate change is going to become, is going to really hit that entire globe. It may become literally impossible for us to also stay in this planet also another 2050 or 2060, 70. So again, this climate scientist warning, if you compare to that boiling frog syndrome phenomenon, if you see that the rate at which the cyclonic storms or the natural disasters and the global temperature or ocean uh, rise and all these things are happening at frequent intervals. So somewhere we are sitting pretty, kind of we are very oblivious. We are being oblivious to the fact that uh, the things may change for worse. But we cannot accept it. So this is what the right hand side of the graph tells us. The figure shows that how hot the earth is getting, the red line, it is on the rise. And at the same time, what the people think, people think it is pretty normal. Things are not going to really get that worse. This is the blue line. So until the time, that frog in the water, a time will come, he cannot adjust to it and it is going to die. The same kind of situations maybe is going to hit us. So the learning from this experiment tells us sometimes we cannot change to certain facts. We take something for granted. If you look at it from an entrepreneurial perspective, the entrepreneurial is one. I think Peter Drucker has come out with a very beautiful definitions. He's the one who always searches for change. He not only looks for changes or turns every change into an opportunity or crisis into an opportunity. He responds to it and exploits it as an opportunity. And if we see that again, the entrepreneurial journey, because OCF is a platform which is very committed to build entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs. So whether we are really ready to accept this kind of changes, to adopt changes, change for better, and face the challenge of change and build our own future. So entrepreneurs are one who always see the possibilities and solutions, and they have a growth mindset. They learn from their mistakes. Okay, they have a failed project, failed business, but they can come back, bounce back to learn, do something better. So challenges help them to grow much bigger, better and bigger, faster. And they always relook at their attitude and their value, their habits as to become more constructive, more forward looking, more positive, and they always expect feedback from others also as to how well they are doing. And they're inspired always, they're self-motivated, and they're always bold, open to experimentations, doing new things, trying out new things, taking risk. So this is what we call growth mindsets. So entrepreneurs are one who have always a growth mindset. On the other hand, if you see the average person who is always finds who is part of the problem, is not part of the solution, he has a fixed mindset. So this is self-explanatory. I'll not delve further. Okay, so we have seen many change leaders like Ritesh Agrawal, who has a self-made billionaire. Also, I've seen in the international space we have seen Richard Branson also, who says that from my first day I became an entrepreneur. I felt always the mission of worth pursuing in business is to make lives better. People lives better. How you bring changes in the lives of people, how you give them a new experience, how you give your customer a new experience. So that is what the business is all about. The customers finally, if they are loyal to you, they are happy with you, so you grow in your business. So you have seen two examples also, Ritesh Agrawal, how he replicated that Airbnb model, and also he became one of the successful business entrepreneurs, also every role model in our country. So transformations, I think I think we'll quickly wrap up, my presentations. I think everybody must be anxiously looking forward to Saurabh for his talk. So from change, I think the transformation is still a bigger word. I think that is where Saurabh would like to again deal with what transformation is all about. It is total, kind of the typical very good example is this caterpillar, transforming into a butterfly. So in a way, the older, the baggage or the older forms, those are discarded, and the new forms, there is a new avatar, there is a new attitude, there is a new value, there is a new world, there is a new brave world. You try to face the world. So that is what transformation is all about. So I think there is a beautiful quote that, be the change you want to see in the world. So, before you talk about changes, let us look at ourselves deep within. How can we make our lives better? How can we bring changes? So that is what transformation is all about. So before you talk about changes, let us look at ourselves deep within. How can we make our lives better? So, before you talk about changes, let us look at ourselves deep within. How can we what we can change, how we can change ourselves, how we can again develop new habits to accept the the challenges in future. So this is where we are finally, I guess. So this is the topic today's, most important aspect. I think Saurabh would be touching upon how to navigate in a very challenging situations in a stormy sea, in a world which is characterized with a lot of disruptions and very accelerated changes are happening. So how do you become? Now the choice is you cannot lag behind. We have to become an early adopter, otherwise we are nowhere. So Saurabh precisely is going to tell us how we become an early adopter to become successful, and why is it that the lifelong learning agility. We have no choice but to learn new habits, but to learn new behavior, to learn, to become an evolved personality. So that is both a survival as well as a growth toolkit in our entrepreneurial growth journey, or in our personal transformation, or in our professional transformation or social transformation. So the way we accept the learning agility, the way we learn fast with the changes that is happening all around us, I think that has become very critical and key to our success and growth. So that is precisely how our webinar has been designed today. And right now you can see that once you are set for the journey, you can definitely reach your destination. So that is what you can reach at the peak of your profession. You can reach at the peak of your personal journey, or whatever ambitions or dreams you have thought of. So we'll I think right now I'll hand over the proceeding to Saurabh.
Yes, sir,
Okay.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Mr.
Okay,
Saurabh.
thanks.
yes,
Okay, thanks,
introducing our speaker of the day. Those who are familiar with Saurabh, I'll just take another 1 minute to introduce him. He has Saurabh has already seen the much of the world in a very younger time. I'll say that 22 years of professional experience, 44 years of life experience. He has worked in different corporations in leadership capacity like General Electric, Johnson and Johnson, Bombardier, TD Bank Canada, Morgan Stanley, Boston Scientific. So with all this, global experience, and I think he has a very deeper understanding of how the corporation works and what are the business challenges. And at the same time, he is very fascinated by corporate cultures, and he has a very great understanding, in-depth understanding of cultural transformations, human interactions, and building agile organizations, and about team dynamics. And his inspiration is, it also inspires, touched me very much, that he is inspired by the amazing possibilities around us to transform the life and workplace. He is trying to also not only be a better person, be a better human being and a role model, and he's also trying to inspire many around him. So I think with this, you have your LinkedIn profile, Saurabh. You can visit his. There are many blogs. He's a very good writer, also very blogger. Also, if you're very keen, you can go forward. So over to Saurabh. Thank you. I think.
Okay, thanks, Antanu.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen as well. And hello, everyone. Good morning to those who are in North America, and good evening to our Indian folks. And I think I think what Santanu has really laid out in front of you, all the data points, all the reasons for change. So if I have to summarize everything that Santanu just said to all of you, the change is here and now. That's what it comes down to. So we cannot deny that. So I'm going to share my screen, and what I'm going to cover next, maybe 25 minutes, 25 minutes, and we have a Q&A session. I'm going to cover the art and science of navigating through this change. We know the change is here. We understand that all of us have to change or adapt to the new ways of working to become successful, to become peaceful. Now I'm going to cover how we are going to do that. What are the challenges we face while going for a change? What are the resistances we see across teams, across organizations, across even countries? So I'm going to cover the aspect of the how-to part more in detail. So with this, I'm going to share my screen, everyone. Who can share? Only host. Can you, so Amit, I can't share my screen. Can you make me host or something?
Yeah, you can do. You can do.
Okay. Thanks, Amit. I think I can do.
Yep. Yes. Now you got
Everybody
it.
seeing my screen now?
Now you got it. Now you got it.
Oh,
Continue.
you all can see the screen right up, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so like I said, navigating through change seamless manner. So I'll not be covering and I'll not be sharing a lot of data points. Santanu has done a great job in sharing all the data points, the reasons for change. I'm going to cover the how-to part. How can you do? How can you go about it? Okay, so let me see. Okay, some
Use
beginning
slide
thoughts,
screen.
everyone.
You use slide screen. Yep. Cool.
You share my screen, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So some beginning thoughts. The art and science is mainly, the way I call it, is the creative expression that we all have. That's the art aspect of it, and the intellectual adaptation, which is a science part of it. So we're going to fuse them together because both of the elements are required to carry out a change. So some beginning thoughts, everyone. Okay. Okay. Uh, this picture, what does it tell? I'm going to share a quick experience. The moment I landed in US or Canada or Japan or Europe, I always try to find the garbage bin, where to throw my garbage in case I have some garbage. Um, Sometimes I have seen people putting the sneaker packs and all inside their pocket until they find a garbage bin, and then they only put it in the garbage bin. They don't throw it on the street. The same person travel back to India. The time they go out of the airport, they start throwing garbage everywhere on the street. I It has been like happening for a few years, and I noticed. I always observe things, so I noticed, and I failed to understand how come the same personality is behaving two different manner in two different places. Then I came to understand that it's partly because the individual is behaving the way he is, not because he wants to do that way. It's because of the enforcement done to him. For example, if he's found littering on the street in US, he'll be fined by $200 or $100, I don't know. But the same person, when he goes back to India, he take it for granted that nothing is going to happen anyway. So that means his behavior, the changed behavior, is really not transformation. We call it as symptom changes on the surface, or maybe superficial behavior change. If he would have been a transformed person, then probably he would behave the same irrespective of the outcome, irrespective of the outside context. So that is one of the things that I came to understand. Another thing is that I have seen that, let's discuss, like what I'm doing now is we are discussing different aspect of a change. Why we are discussing this? Let's try to understand the beast or the animal of the change, okay, so that we can tame it better, so that we know exactly how can we bring change in our organization or in our individual own ourselves or the team. So another aspect I'm talking about, the second picture, is about when we are doing something, we become so focused on doing what we are doing, which is great to be having a focus, but at the same time we should also have a view from like 10,000 feet to understand how the system linkings are happening, system dynamics are changing. Otherwise we will not be able to provide any improvement to what we are doing today. As the picture suggests, these people are so busy doing what they are doing, they have very little time to think about bring some positive change in their way of working. They're not ready to even take the wheels which will make their life better. The another aspect of the change is changes ahead. Like it or not, all of us must keep it, take a note of it, which Santanu has already put a lot of data points around it. There are constantly, we are facing changes. There are changes ahead. Even if we adapt to the COVID situation that we are in today, which I really sometimes thank to COVID, because they pushed us to a limit of embracing change faster and in a more effective manner. So that's kind of challenges we're looking at here. So there will be changes all the time. And all of you, also another point I wanted to highlight is that there will always be a change, as I said, and there will always be a possibility of continuing to do what we are doing today, which is our old ways, or we can take the chance and make the change. The history has shown us people who have adapted to change, they have become successful persons, or take those chance, take those risks, they have become successful in their career and in their life as well. Charles Darwin's line, it's the survival of the fittest, not of the strongest or the smartest. It is the fittest who adapt to the change constantly. Change, I call it a chance. Every time we face with a decision, that's basically a chance to us. For example, now OCF is providing a great platform, like Santanu said, for all the entrepreneurs. How many of the entrepreneurs are really adapting to that and then adopting it? It's a chance for everyone, but not everybody is taking. Some are taking. OCF is an example, but there are so many other examples. At every moment of time in your life, you are facing with this chance, which will bring a change in you. For example, which college to choose, which stream to choose, or which job to take. Should I change my job or should I not change my job? Should I become an entrepreneur? Should I not become an entrepreneur? All the time, you are facing these changes or the chances. Are you taking it or not? That's a key question. Another aspect of the change is that change does not happen in your boardrooms, in your PowerPoint slides, which I'm sharing it now also. Change does not happen there. Change happens on the ground. When you go there, go out there, live it, experiment it, fail, learn from failures, again, take the risk. That's where the change happens. So that's what it is talking about, the delusions of effectiveness. Once we, like I have seen, what I do as a person is, I know Santanu covered, but briefly I would say that I help organizations, teams, and individuals to transform their way of working. That's what I do. Mostly I support large financial organizations in their digital transformation. When I say transformation, it's a big change in the way the whole organization operates today. And because of that, many leaders I have seen that they make some big plans, they invest in people, and they think the change is done. No, it's not going to be done. It's very superficial. We have to look at why it fails in that subsequent slides. Okay, I'm just taking a look at my time as well. So I have 15 more minutes. So the main point here I wanted to share with you all, this is taken from Edgar Scheins. Okay, Edgar Scheins' culture, organizational culture and structure, the book. So what they talked about is that when we are trying to send our people for some training, for example, when we try to buy new tools and products that will help our team members or organizations to adapt to the changes, those are actually artifacts. Those are the top level. Those are not real change, really. They are superficial. If we really want to change, you have to look back, look deeper into the organizational culture and the values, which are espoused values, they call. And even to look further, even you have to go deeper, we have to look at the basic underlying assumptions. And if we change the assumptions, then only we can see the real change across the organizations. Now, I'll give a quick example. Suppose there is a company who is established. Say, for example, take an example of Blockbuster. They have stores across US. What they do, they give video DVDs and video cassettes and all. That's their business. And they have been doing amazing profits in early 80s and late 80s and early 90s. They are really the leader in the industry, and they were making huge money, a lot of profits. And every assumption they have taken when they're starting up, like maybe 10, 20 people when they started in 80s, every assumption is working well because the outcome is well. And they never look for a change. And across the organization, no one wants to even embrace any change, even if it is small, or expect any change across. There is no appreciation of change. And what we see today, Blockbuster is out of business. Netflix and other stream providers, online stream providers, Amazon and all videos, they have taken over the market. Nobody wants to go and get a cassette or even DVD players. Everything is live on internet. So what happened there is they did not change their assumptions. They thought the assumptions they have taken 20 years back still hold good, but they fail to understand the change that are taking place across them, around them, constantly. So that is what the main point I wanted to address. So let's talk about this understanding change even better. I'll spend like a minute on this slide, then I go into the how part. Okay. There is technologically why the change is happening actually. What is causing the change to happen so fast, especially in our last 5 years? Technological innovations. I'll not go into detail. That's a separate study actually. Digital transformation. When I covered, I talked about that. Just take an example. The storage device. I know in 2000 when I was in late to 90s, when I was in college, we were having a big desktop. We're having only 256 megabyte or kilobyte of data. Now in my phone, I have 64 gig or 128 gig of data. So that's the storage device has shrunk. Now speed, the processing speed, that's another thing that played a key role in bringing up new products and services. And another is the internet speed. So speed of the internet and processing speed and the storage devices, these three have brought in big transformation made possible. These changes allowed the technology companies to build great products and small in size, so everybody can carry in their pocket, which are phones. Now everything we do on phones. So this technological innovation has brought in a lot of changes, and constantly there are a team of people who are doing research and development and artificial intelligence and machine learning, so many other things, to find how to make the lives of people better, how to make human beings' life better. And this research and development is giving rise to new possibilities. And the consumer behaviors are constantly changing because now they are kind of a pampered kids. Now we all consumers, we want more and faster and better. So consumer behavior is constantly changing. Consumers are able to buy things which is making their life better. Now, because of this consumer behavior change, there is a social phenomenon that is emerging. For example, I have a car, but it's not a battery car. I see my neighbor is bought, I get influenced, go and buy. So social phenomenon is driving this. These four pillars constantly bringing the change across the society. That's very important to understand the change to be able to appreciate it. Now, there are different change stages. Now, why this change happened? We discussed briefly in the previous slide. One is burning platform. For example, pandemic, very clear example. Everybody going online, remote learning, remote shopping, burning platform. Because if you go out, we'll get the virus and you'll die. It's a burning platform. Suppose there is a company who is saying that our product, what we are producing today, if we do not innovate, then we'll be out of business and we all will lose our jobs. That's a burning platform. But not always happening that, not every company is facing burning platform. For example, financial institutions, they have so much of money that they rarely see the change happening around themselves. That's why people like us, we find a lot of challenges in bringing any transformation. Constant sense of danger. What Toyota has done is that, because there is a time when Toyota feels that they are the king, and they cannot be disrupted, they cannot be unthroned and dethroned, sorry. And that's where the constant sense of danger. What Toyota leadership thought is that in order to make the innovation at work, we have to ensure that everyone who is working for building or manufacturing this car, right from the research concept to sales, research and development to the distribution team, everybody should feel that they are living in a danger. And that's why sometimes they artificially create a constant sense of danger in the minds of the people to push them to their limits. And that's another reason. Learning culture. And there are some companies, for example, Apple. Apple has created the world-class product company. And what Apple has done is that constantly they provided opportunities to its employees, the right to learn all kinds of latest and greatest learning artifacts, so that constantly the team wants to learn better, know better, and improve better, create greater awareness. So that's another trigger, and they constantly innovate, right? Now, these are the different trigger why. Now, adoption how, which is our focus today, which I'm going to cover a couple of slides on how the toolkits. Customize. One way is customize it. On like basically don't change the core of the product, but just put a good layer on it. What Nokia has done, and they're almost out of business, right? Nokia did not change the core of the product, only the surface they have changed, adopted from Apple eventually, but they could not withstand Apple and Samsung just because they only changed superficially. The other aspect is a push. You can push to people to deliver the best, but if you push, it will remain at a certain stage. After that, they will forget the new ways of working again. They'll revert back to the old ways of working. The push does not come. It's just one example. When you are trying to tell your kid that don't eat chocolates more, it will erode your teeth, for example. Now you can push them hard, but when they have a free time, you are not around, they'll again go back to buy a chocolate and eat it, because it is not them who has said don't eat chocolate, it is us who are pushing them. Does not work. For example, when my kid was like 5 years old, he was making some paint on my wall, and I told him, hey, stop it. He didn't listen to me at all. In fact, he did more. While he's looking at me, he's made the wall even dirtier. And I realized something is going on here. The next time I saw him, I read some books, I gathered some knowledge. Next time I saw him doing that, I told him that, hey, you have already grown up. You're too young to do all these things. You're a big kid now. Hey, stop doing it. And I have never seen him doing it again, because from his own inner voice, he says that he has grown up. It is a change from within is important. We talk about that actually. Contextualize has an element of both art and science of navigating through change seamlessly. What contextualize does is it brings in our creative expression onto the work and thinking, and then gel it or integrate it with the science of it, the intellectual adaptation of it, and try to bring it. So that's the contextualized part I'm trying to talk about. Okay. And then next is the resilience. We'll not cover in detail this one. In fact, I'm not going to cover this one. Once you go through navigating the change successfully or seamlessly, you become a learning organization, which becomes your new identity. That's called your resilience, meaning you are resilient to any kind of change around you. Organization has matured so much that it can sense or probe and sense and can understand the change and take right actions. So it covers the behaviors, spouse values, and underlying assumption, all the three. Okay. I'll go to the next slide now, everyone. We'll try to see, in the previous slide, we talked about the three things: the customize, push, and contextualize. We're going to cover those in the next slide. Okay. Now let's try to understand, deep dive on adoption. Like I said, we are going to focus on the how-to part. Change customizers approach. The inlets for change. So what happens is that, so for example, you are trying to bring a change in the organizations, and you have these organization, old tools and processes, old practices, old principles. You try to bring new tools and processes, new practices, new principles, new values, and new mindset, but you do not open the last three. You only try to make a surface change, like you suppose they are not using computers, you give everyone computers. That's a new tools and processes. New practices, for example, a little bit of new practices also you gave. Now practices in the sense, for example, they are conducting meetings over the phone, you bring them to a room. That's one of the example. Or new practices meaning, suppose the organization structure remains the same. The person who goes from one desk to another, you bring a kind of a tool, and they will put on the cart, and the cart will automatically go. That's a new practices, right? But you don't change anything in terms of the principles, the values, and their mindset. So what will happen in this case? That's change customizer, only surface changes. What will happen really in this case is basically the tools and processes will change, practices will change. The people will start using the new tools and processes, and they will use new practices, which is good. You see the changes happening, you become happy. But guess what? With time, they will revert back to their old tools and processes and old practices. Just like I told you an example of my son who, when I'm not around, he starts eating chocolates, for example, just an example, right? So That means the change has not happened in the deep. Let's try to understand graphically what exactly happened here. With time, you see the changes happening, but then you see a flat, there is no change. Like you, in the sense, you see the tools and processes are changing. People are using new tools, new computers, new processes, and all. But eventually, the change goes back. Like with time, they kind of misuse. They stop even using the tools and processes. And this happened. I'll tell you from organization standpoint, more example because those are my experience. We try to do new ways of working, and we try to say that, hey, meetings have to have time boxing. You should not be staying in the meeting for more than half an hour, but they constantly keep on discussing for like 1 hour without any outcome. With time, this is an example I can give you. So that's the old ways of working. Now what is the solution then? Probably change pusher, meaning this guy, he comes in. What we do, we try to bring in all kind of change across, right? For example, suppose one of you wants to be an entrepreneur or doesn't want to be an entrepreneur, don't know what to do. For me as a coach, I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm here to ask you some questions and you decide yourself what is best for you. Now, suppose one of you wants to be an entrepreneur, has skills or the potential to become a successful entrepreneur, for example. That person will come to me and will ask me, what can I do? I don't know. Now, if I just push him, hey, you become an engineer or become a doctor, and I'll give him all the necessary tools to become an engineer, or I'll put him into a college, pay the fees, he'll learn everything from the college. Still, he'll not become a successful engineer because it is not him who is making the decision. It is me who is making the decision for him. I want you all to understand this one very carefully. If you want to bring a change in your life, it is you who has to make the decision. No one else can make it for you. If somebody else, they can make it for you, which will become a change pusher, but it's not going to stay for long. Because here, I can push you to become a doctor or engineer, to become an entrepreneur. But with time, you may show some flavor of an entrepreneur or a doctor, or engineer, or a businessman. You may show some flavors, but with time, you go back to your old norm, as the graph suggests here. So what happens here is that we can see a quick change, sudden change. That person is really busy studying, want to become something, become an entrepreneur, started working on the idea and all. And then suddenly we saw a decline with time because we pushed the agenda for change for all dimension too fast, too soon. And we try to see that use a cookie cutter solution. Okay, it worked for someone else, it will work for him. Maybe it might have worked for someone else because that someone else might be cut out for an entrepreneur. Now we miss the context. This is what I want to make you understand very carefully. Make a note of it, this point very carefully. Now let's try to understand the contextualizer approach, the natural way of doing it. What you do is that you want to bring a change, you start taking a little bit of everything, little bit. Don't try to make a drastic change. For example, you want to lose weight. Okay, you want to stay fit, for example, your eating habit, which is a big concern. Try to take it one step at a time. Try to understand the whole dimension, the whole systemic view of where you are operating. Try to make a small goals, achieve them, celebrate them, and try to then take a next step. And do it in a time-bound manner. At the same time, the important point, which many of us sometimes feel, that when you try on a dieting, for example, we make a small routine, we follow all those things, but remember, we still fail many times because we do not have an outlet which will dispel our old behaviors. While you are taking in our new approach, we should also have an outlet to dispel our old behaviors. This is very important. Now, I will not be telling you a tool right now because it depends on what problem we are trying to solve. Say, for example, if a government organization wants me to come and do a study for them, how to bring in new behavior, new ways of working in people in their organizations, like new ways of working, being on time, being outcome driven, and supporting, creating a culture for collaboration, enabling creative thinking, anything for that matter, dispel the old behaviors is critical. And I tend to come up with different tools for different setting. For this government organization that I talked about, there are certain tools I have built which I call Orbit Shifter, which will be very productively used for dispelling old behaviors. And we can talk about that in a separate setting. But the point here is that try to see it this way: make small change across in your mindset as in your values. How can you do a mindset change? The challenge with the mindset change is they're not visible. While tools, you can see a computer in my desk, but I may not be a digital savvy person because my mindset is not like that. So this is something important I wanted to highlight. How can you do a mindset level change? This will be a question I'm posing to you all, and I want you to ask me this question so I can answer, because I don't want to bring questions also. I want you to think about it and ask questions, right? Now, what we see when we bring in those small changes across, new mindset, little bit of sprinkle, we still see the old behaviors, and that's okay. But at the same time, you can easily, from your observations and from some factual and some probably from soft skill related, you can see a subtle change in the way they are doing work today. And this is very important to make a note. If it is not happening, if your observation is saying that no change is happening, don't lose faith and hope on this process. It takes time, because remember, when it is not happening, that means the process is working on building the foundation even more, which is good point. You will see a period of silence between some phases, and I'll talk about that in the next graph. But point here is that slowly we'll see the change in the people. And with time, we have let go all the old processes, and you'll see the whole organizations, the teams, the individuals are adopting the new ways of working. And this is when you feel that all the parameters that you have considered, like the typically organizations, what they do is that my profit should increase, my revenue should increase, my customer base should increase, all of my costs should go down. You'll see those parameters improve significantly. And there are a lot of case studies. I'm not a man of sharing all the data. Data is there in the internet. You all can see that. Look for this. Which organizations have improved in conducting change transformation? And you'll see a lot of data points. 30, at least 20 to 30% increase in the revenues they have seen in 1 or 2 years. This is the data point. 60% reduction in cost. Many organizations overall. There's Gartner case studies and all. You can just take a look at that. They are doing the data collection. We are doing the thinking part. Okay, and then how this happens is that it's very important to understand when you do a change here in the stage 1. As I said, you do change across all as 5 dimensions: mindset, values, principles, practices, and tools and processes. Little bit of that. And when you go to stage 1, you'll see a period of silence, and you might think that change stopped here. My organization is going to not going to change anymore. No, that is I call period of silence. And that period of silence, you have to ensure that your leadership is focused and understand clearly that this period of silence will be there, and they will not see a sea change in that time, because the team, the system is working towards building the next foundation for the next level of changes. Changes cannot happen overnight. In pandemic, I have seen, as working as banks, I know all the banks, very quickly they adapt to remote ways of working. Providing 100,000 people remote ways of working is a Herculean task, and phenomenally they have achieved in a very short time frame. How they have done? They have not done really change pusher. You know what? They have done the studies. They found out that the organizations have been really preparing to go virtual. Of course, the pandemic has pushed us faster than we expected, but organizations have already working on it. Those organizations survive in this period of change. Many organizations are really on their knees just because they have never invested in working in this kind of pandemic situation before. It's very important. We don't know what change ahead, but we clearly know that change is ahead. There is change, and we must keep ourselves ready to adapt and embrace the change. Like going back to Charles Darwin, survival of the fittest. When I say fittest, meaning who are ready to accept change, embrace change at any point of time. With this, I conclude my talk and I stop share. We're ready to take some questions, thoughts, everyone. Yeah, Amit. Yeah, we can take some questions or thoughts.
Yeah,
Something
Saurabh.
when Amit.
Yeah, Saurabh, there is a question from Mr. Arvind Padhi from Delhi. He has appreciated your talk. Great talk, Saurabh. Spoke about changed behavior in an individual. Okay, this is more at an individual level. But the larger question is how to bring in desired changes in a larger mass like community, society, and state. I think that is a very big questions, very macro level. And do religious beliefs and faith affect desired outcomes in a change process? So two parts. So how to bring the changes, desired changes in the larger mass? And the next question is religious beliefs. To what extent it affects the outcome?
Sorry, I was talking on mute. Yeah. Okay, good. Okay, great question, Arvind. And I'll try to answer. Maybe Santanu can also chime in. Okay, I'll try to answer from my perspective, the way I see. Okay, change has to happen at individual level always, and I'm a strong believer of that. If we don't bring change at individual level, we cannot bring change at a team level. We cannot bring change at community level. So I always say that change has to happen at individual level. That is number one. And number two is to bring a change in community level, participation of everyone is critical. Now, you might need some external support to bring the change at a community level in terms of consulting and all. But like I mentioned, at the end of the day, it is a community who has to feel that they have to change at a group community. Or the group of people have to feel that they need to change. Now, two steps we can do to that. One is, of course, education, and another is leadership. We have to bring in that. Now, combining them together, educating the leaders. I'll rather put my thought this way. Educating the leaders is a key for organization. If I consider organization as a community, of course they work in a different way. When we try to do transformation for an organizations, from my experience, I can draw. We go at the top level. Leadership who establish the processes, structure, and everything, they have to first understand that change is important and change has to happen certain way. And then they will put together the structures and the artifacts which the individuals teams will follow, and then we can see desired change. So to answer to your question, educate the leaders on change, then we can see change across organizations, countries, societies, communities. That's the first part. Second part of question on the religious faith and all. To me, when I discuss change, I talk about change as a human being level. At a human being level, it does not have any place of religion, faith, and all. I'm not saying no people should stop going for religion, faith, but my area of expertise at a human being level. And when I say human being, I go by the natural qualities gifted by God to human beings. So more creative, compassionate, empathy, passion, all these things, emotions, emotional intelligence, knowledge. These things I talk, not knowledge actually. I stop it in intelligence, not knowledge. Knowledge is again, religion is also about knowledge. So these are 5-6 skills, the gifted gifts that we got from God. I think that's what we should focus on, and from there we should build ground up. So to answer to your question, I would not consider religion, faith come on the way of change if somebody wants to change. Yeah, I hope I answered your question, Arvind. But that's all I can share. Unless Santanu, you want to chime in something.
Yeah. Next question you can take from the Priyadarshi.
I would like to add up, I'd like to add to Saurav also. In a democratic setup also, the bringing those social changes, that's fairly a very complex process. Building that uh, vision also as to the rationale for change. Why we want to, bring about this change, and to what extent this works out to the benefit of all the stakeholders. So I think getting stakeholders on board is very important, and building a common vision, shared vision is very important. And having you have rightly said that building a coalition of stakeholders and educating or training the leaders who will be the change agents. I think those are the change agents. We have to also train the leaders. Those will again bring about those changes down below. I think those structural as well as I think the soft part of it is I think together that might make a difference. That is my I think I would like to add to that. Next question.
Next question you can take from Priyadarshi.
Very long questions. I think
Priyadarshita Singh.
migrant about migrant workers. Migrant on the reverse migration.
Let him
All these migrants are multi-skilled, skilled in farming.
Yeah, I think the
Pandemic.
question is, I think the question is, Santanu, kindly share your views as to how these farmers and tribals in rural Odisha could benefit from the opportunities COVID-19 pandemic has brought. That is the question.
Yes, I think this is one of the very widely debated issue. This reverse migration happening. In fact, the best way, in fact, in our state also, the one way to is to see that kind of a we have to reskill. We have seen this labor reform also has been passed by the parliament. So there is a good amount of provisions. The migrant workers are no longer treated as strictly migrant workers because now they come within the ambit of contract labor. So in a way, law has been changed to some extent. It will be supported by rules, and the people who have being either being I mean through downsizing or their services are no longer required as a result of such pandemic or natural disasters. So there is a good amount of skill reskilling fund is going to be created. That is how the onus now lies on the government largely also to reskill, to identify, to make a large database. First of all, we do not have a database of all these migrant workers. So what happened precisely when these migrant workers came back from different states back to Odisha? We did not have a master database like now. Government is trying to what government is trying to do, create a larger national database so that you can figure it out where which migrant worker is working where. So they'll have a kind of identification or a kind of a tag or in terms of having an identification number. So the next part also comes is what is their skill levels, the skill inventory also. So that has also not been done. I think that also needs to be done. Then you can find out where their skill can be upgraded, either upgraded or it can in terms of multi-skilling. But now the choice is very limited. I think the time is now the agri, now they are back in their villages, very reluctant to go back to their industry because of the kind of treatment, the very discriminatory, the way they were treated very unfairly. So no worker will definitely, like to go back to the employer again. So the suggestions, I think these questions also, what they are trying to say is here is also how we can promote the agriculture and other allied workers also. And so these people can be skilled or reskilled again, looking at the opportunities, job opportunities. Now you have to see that what kind of skill they have and what are the skills the industry requires or this one sector requires. Once you find that, do that gap analysis, then you can design a skill building program, skill development program.
Yeah.
But this is going to take some time. It cannot happen overnight because we have to have a very data. It has to be a very evidence-based decision. It has to be a data-based decisions. You can't take this decision abruptly. I hope government and other multi-stakeholders, civil society also should take part in it. So far, civil society has been left out of it. I guess it is not the only concern of government or the employer. I think the civil society also should join the hands together, and it should be a multi-stakeholder engagement. You can't do
I Yeah,
Yeah.
I just want to add to Santanu on this question. I think this is a very important point, Priyadarshita, you raised. I just want to add one point to what Santanu said is maybe this is a topic that we need to bring up to people who can help the migrant worker in such a way that they understand that there is a need. It's just like making a change, right? It's just like making a change. How you do that, how you present it. Maybe we can like Santanu said, with the data and all, we can bring it up. For example, there is there is a company in the past I have read in the book. What they used to do is that the one of the quality leader of the company, he noticed that the manager or the leader, he noticed that every department uh, workers are wearing different types of shoes coming from different suppliers. So he suddenly felt that it's a great opportunity to consolidate all these shoes from one supplier and get cost advantage and get one quality and get faster service. And then he has prepared a 10 pages of Excel workbook and all the numbers and all. Nobody paid any attention to that. Then one day what he did is he brought all the different shoes and put in the long board meeting table in front of all the executives. And they said, what is it? Then he said, these are all the different shoes you get from different suppliers. They immediately get the point, and immediately he has been given the opportunity. So just to drive home the point, this is an important topic. The way and the views is gather the data, bring it up, and raise the voice with the right people, get support, including OCF, I guess, and we can help them. I think we should all together to help them. I hope that answered your question, Priyadarshita, and we'll go to the next question just to see how can you change consumer behavior, Pradipta Sahu. I want to take a stab on that. When you look at a product from Japan, they don't sell their product saying it's a high quality product. Everybody knows it's from Japan, it's high quality because they sell the experience of the product. Now, even suppose you are from a company, Pradipta, suppose there are suppose there are other competition, your competition is trying to sell something different segment, different kind of product or services. Don't get confused that because they're doing, you cannot bring in new things to consumer because maybe consumer will not change their behavior. Consumers are very smart. If they don't change their behavior, then we would not have seen Apple as $1 trillion company. They have been changing their behavior. The only challenge with the leadership or us as a company who are doing the business is be innovative, meaning understand your customer. I have a special area of interest in CRM, customer relationship management. I have expertise on that. So understanding customer, what exactly they need, not only what they need, not only what they're saying they need, also the unspoken need is the challenge with the companies. Once you find that, you don't care about what other companies are building. What you build is what consumer is going to lean onto. That's the consumer behavior change. Go for it. If you are creative, if you understand customer behavior well, you can do it, or customer needs well. So that would be my answer. Hope, Pradipta, that answers your question. And I think there is another question. Chime in anytime, Santanu, if you want to. Arunima's question: to hear from the client to show credential for interesting work. Unless you. Okay, that's a very interesting question from Arunima. I think we should answer that question. Very interesting, Arunima. I don't. First thing, my advice to you, I should not be advising, rather I should be coaching, is stop getting annoyed. Okay, stop getting annoyed, and client will always ask for credentials, and it is their right. Think it from their perspective. They will ask for credentials. Now you get annoyed. If you go deeper, again, I'm not coaching here. That's another subject we do, building leaders for tomorrow. We have done that before. So Arunima, when they ask more and more about credentials, I also, when I apply for a job, I get annoyed asking for credential for something I have not done because I want to an opportunity to learn it, right? So it might be annoying, but understand from their perspective, engage in the conversation, and try to see what you can best do and present to them. This is best I can do. Be honest, and we can coach you through that. And then I'm telling you, you'll see a change in the attitude from your clients. They will start trusting you, and it takes time. Trust is an equation. It takes time of credibility, reliability, and intimacy over self-orientation. So focus on you don't have credibility, you have never done a business, that's all right. Say that I have zero credibility because I have not done anything, but show them you are reliable by constantly approaching them with some data points. You are reliable. Show them that you want to build a personal intimacy, personal relationship. Also, show them that you are thinking about them. Go with data, do research about their company, and show them the data that they have never seen. Lot can be done, and there are so many success stories I can bring up, but I hope that answer your question. So it's not the egg or the chicken, it's you that come first, Arunima. Go to the client with your data, they will be appreciative of your effort. Okay.
Yeah, but adding on to Saurabh again, you can come back to us. What is your exact issue? Maybe OCF will be able to help you out. Also, you can have a kind of a collaboration with OCF as well. Also, because we have a lot of opportunities which will be coming up. Would definitely like to share with you. I think why not?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thank you for adding that, Santanu. Yeah, Arunima, you can come back, and we have actually course that we are planning to launch that might help you, Arunima. Talk to OCF and talk to us, and we'll help you on that.
Vivek Babu kichhi kohibe? Vivek Babu, Ahmedabad. Vivek Babu, Vivek Mishra.
Vivek Mishra.
Vivek Mishra sir.
Unmute karantu, Vivek sir.
Please unmute yourself. You are muted.
Amit, thoda unmute kar do. Amit.
Amit, I think Vivek is trying to say something, but he's muted.
But there is a follow-up question from
now he can ask. Okay, there is a follow-up question. Okay, great question, Arvind. I think I was waiting for this question for sure. My slide, I talk about that burning platform. COVID-19 actually a burning platform situation, meaning get going. So people tend to behave. Suppose there's a fire in the house, you don't need a process. You just go out of the house because the change is clear. So how to sustain that? Now, sustaining such changes beyond crisis period require two things. The other 2 points I talk about. One is what Toyota does, constant sense of danger. It creates an environment where every employee feels that they have to do something, otherwise they'll lose in the industry competition. So that is one thing, but I am not very supportive of that. I want to do the last one that I talk about, which is natural. The contextual, the contextual way of creating awareness about everyone, about taking them to a learning platform so that they constantly know what their industry is doing, what the competition is doing. They are curious about it. We have to get that curiosity also and all those things. So I think that is something, creating a learning culture, to answer to your point in one line, creating a learning culture in organizations, in industries, in communities, everywhere is the only way for raising the awareness so people can answer better. Okay. I hope that answers your question, Arvind. Yeah.
Good evening. Now I am unmuted. I can speak. See, first of all, congratulations to Dr. Santanu as well as Saurabh for the excellent presentation on a very relevant subject and very useful for all the participants as well. Those who want to excel in life and everything. See, my question to Saurabh and Santanu, both of them is, see, there is a word, you use very frequently, trigger, everybody want to excel in life, everyone want to do well, everyone is a leader in their field, and nobody wants to be an average person. So probably nobody wants to willing to go out of the comfort zone, which holds back most of the cases. And other cases is everybody look for a proper trigger to come out to change, unless like the frog example what Santanu gave and the Nokia example what Saurabh gave and all that. So how to find a trigger, to whether look for a pandemic, something like a pandemic to find a trigger, or you really, you find a trigger by something else, you come out and you change. That is the thing. How to find a trigger effectively?
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I can share my perspective. Then maybe Santanu, you can also chime in. So quick one. I think it's relevant to the answer that I just give to Arvind from Delhi. So it's a great point. Thanks for liking our subject. But what happened here is that the trigger that we are talking about, burning platform, it's a great trigger, but that's not a desirable trigger, to be honest. We don't want to let it like boiling frog story that Santanu said. We don't want to get to that point where we have no other option but to change, because those changes are really drastic, and it's not long lasting, and it's not sometimes sustainable. 60 to 70% of increase in mental health situation. I was just talking to MIT University. 60 to 70% increase in mental health situation because people are forced to change their way of working. So what I was trying to focus, say that create a learning culture, create a like growth mindset, always prevail a growth mindset as over fixed mindset in everyone through the process of teaching, educating, learning, so that the person is always ready to embrace any kind of change that the nature thrown to him or her. That is what I think, building resilience in people. When I say leader, doesn't have to be leader, it's not a title, like I said before. Anybody can be a leader, meaning you lead your own way of working, your own style. And so I think that building resilience through education, coaching, teaching, training in every individual is answer to your point, what you said, Mr. Vivek.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
And it is not easy, it's time taking, but once it is built, it's permanent. That's best I can say. So we can start introducing this kind of thinking. That's what another thing I'm working on is, how can you introduce this thing. I've seen in many schools they already have the problem. They go into office and in the industries, they change because a lot of other things come into. So we can introduce these into industry education and other things also. Yeah.
Dr. Santanu, can you put your perspective on coming out of comfort zone and driving the trigger and getting a trigger? Actually, disconnected. Okay, thanks, Saurav. Great. Learning, continuous learning is the, automatically drives
Yeah.
the trigger. Yeah.
And
Continuous learning.
there are many other ways also, Mr. Vivek. I'm not going to detail, of course. Like for example, suppose there is an enterprise, a bank, or a manufacturing organizations. There are lot of coaching that we do to leaders. Like that's what is happening here in North America. I have seen when
Yeah.
you do the coaching to the leaders, we bring them bring a lot of clarity to their thinking that change is there, change is here and now, and how they can help their organizational structure change, for example, how they can help in processes change, practices change, principle change. So there is different dimensions to that. And again, it is eventually lead to education and training and coaching. That's what I always go to my core answers.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Saurav. Yeah.
Any
Mr.
other
Prakash
question?
Panda. Mr. Prakash Panda is there. He is a great entrepreneur. He is also a great enterprising nature. Can you put some questions or what vision for you, Mr. Prakash
Good
Panda?
evening, good evening, everybody. Good evening, sir. Good evening, Saurav sir, and good evening, Dr. Santanu sir. In the perspective of change, I would like to put a few words like in the context of innovation. In innovation, there are 5 categories of people: early adapters, late adapters, and laggards, and something like that. There are people, those who adapt to the change very easily, and there are people who also take help of others' opinions and others' beliefs, thoughts into consideration for bringing about a change. And there are people, those who are laggards, they are never adapting to the change. This COVID-19 situation has brought about a dramatic change in the context of human life and lifestyle. So as quickly as we adapt to this change in the behavior, in our practices, in our beliefs, in our customs, in our traditions and everything, that will make a great difference in our life. So what I would like to put a question to Dr. Santanu sir, that how we can make changes in the human behavior and practices in a more rapid way in the context of bringing about a change in this new kind of situation.
Okay, but you are talking about different, I think, categorizations of like adopters, late adopters, earlier than the laggards. Which target segment are you talking about? I think you are trying to
I am
focus
talking
on.
about laggards.
Uh-huh.
They are very resistant to change.
Mm-hmm. So laggards, they have a kind of a fixed mindset. You know, they'll watch. They'll prefer to resist changes rather than moving out of their comfort zone.
Yes.
So they are the kind of people who would always like to watch others, how others are behaving. Then I'll follow others. So I think this is a state where they enjoy a relatively low self confidence. They don't believe in themselves. One way
Right,
of
sir.
one way of saying laggard is they don't believe in themselves. So kind of giving them a good amount of self confidence, and also trying to, what we were trying to tell them, that mindset, giving them a sense of reflecting within. They need to reflect within, what is it that I lack, why is it that I'm not moving out of my comfort zone. So some kind of introspection and reflection needs to be done to, in order to move out of that, step out of that comfort zone. So they need to look within. But what I can say is that there is no two ways to look at it. One is internally, which is going to be that change is going to be durable, lasting. On the other hand, if you're trying to force something on them, they'll have no choice but to accept it. But that is not going to work again, I think, because they lack that conviction within. So that is my limited, but Saurabh can add on to that.
Yeah, I can just share my perspective. Thanks, Santanu. Yeah, I think it's a great question, but we have to understand from the context of this laggards and all. So basically, this is taken from the product development workflow. If you really look at these 5 categories that you just mentioned, Mr. Prakash, it's taken from product development workflow. Like when you build a new product, first there will be innovators, then there will be early adopters, then there is a early majority, then there is a late majority, and the last one is a laggards. So
Right, sir. Right.
yeah, so that is taken from that, but it's very related, because for me example, if I consider myself buying a Apple phone, I constantly upgrade myself. Buying i12 iPhone 12 now, I'll be maybe late majority or laggards, or maybe late majority because I get a good deal and then I go for it. But there are some who are really jump into it. So depend on the mindset that it's taken from the product development. But in real life also, a change happens. For example, how quickly people embrace the change. Again, we can categorize them into early adopter, but I think the need for the change is different in this context, right? In terms of pandemic change, for example. Now, laggards are basically we have to look at case by case, like Dr. Santanu said. Are they people who are not embracing change because they have some challenges, or are they people not embracing change because they have fixed mindset? We don't know that, so we have to take a case on case basis. Who are the people? For example, if you want to go for a quick change, agile transformation in banks, for example, new ways of working, control partners who are legal teams, they are laggards. They don't want to embrace change because there is a high risk, high stake, because legal departments and all those things, regulatory and all, high risk department, they don't want to go for quick change. So once you understand the nature and psyche of the organization or the individual, it is very easy to find way how to bring that change. So I would not say one answer fits all or a cookie cutter solution. A study needs to be conducted to see what we are trying to, who we are trying to change. Is it the individual who don't want to change because he is not aware of the change? Is it the individual who is not don't want to change because he has some limitation challenges? Or is it the individual who doesn't want to change because he has some vested interest? Depending on situation, we come up with solution. But ultimately, the answer is learning, continuous learning, and learning. Nothing else that can help everyone to change. Indian culture, Indians are more quick to embrace change than Americans. Mobile penetration, for example, in India is much faster than in US in terms of using banking. Banking mobile penetration in India is growing at much faster rate than in US or Europe. because we are very agile in nature. Indians are very agile in nature. There is a lot of things to that. Maybe the culture, our upbringing, our jugaad system and all these things come into our psyche, right? So that's how we reflect. So it is very important to understand who we are trying to bring change to, and then accordingly come up with processes to that. Yeah, but
Sir, I have
fundamentally,
another. Yes, sir. I have another question. Education, or what we call a skill development, is a process of bringing about a change in the behavior of people. Education is a process. You can bring about a change in the behavior of a person. But despite all kinds of education, despite all kinds of degrees and all that, there is no change in the behavior of people, and there is no change in the attitude and behavior of many people.
good point, very good point, and I think very relevant. I studied in engineering. I never had to understand organizational psychology. I never studied about that. I only know how machines work. Then I know how computers work. In the early part of my 10 years of my career, I struggled every day managing a team, managing people. Then I realized that I never studied people related thing. Then I started reading about organizational psychology, people development, leadership skills, and I started developing a lot of interest, and I came to know new things that I was missing all along. When you're talking about education, we try to focus on doctor, engineer. I'm not talking about those kind of education. When I say education, I meant about leadership development. I meant about team development, high performing team building, coaching, training. And on top of that, these are the education I'm talking about. Skills, soft skills, how to interact with people, how to manage interaction, how to build relationship with people. Those are the things I'm talking about. Now, on top of that, I want to add another thing. Training always gives a short lasting impression. You can get trained on something. If you don't practice it, you tend to forget it. But coaching brings a change within. So I think coaching is very critical here. Leadership development, coaching and training is very important. So just training is not enough. You have to practice it. Just like we practice computer programming, we should practice team building. We should practice how to respond to change. These are actually new dimensions of studies coming up in many organizations, many institutions. I hope that answers your question, Mr. Person.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, adding on to Saurabh
It's a
again.
deep subject, actually. It's a deep subject.
Yes, I think what you have been trying, Mr. Panda, Prakash Panda is trying to tell us that education really does not aim at transforming the human personality. It is more about getting grades, getting marks. So far our education focus was somewhere else. I think with the changing time, what I see a very interesting trend across all the educational institutions, the focus on the life skill, building the life skills of or the soft skill of the students. I think to this extent, in Odisha, the people are fairly intellectually they're superior. I have seen that a lot of those Odisha students they're definitely intellectually superior. But when they step outside the homestead, in terms of their soft skill and all, that is something they really lack. They build up a sense of kind of a kind of a complex compared to the South Indians or so. So this is where I think the things are changing. A lot many engineering colleges and base schools, they have already introduced this new education policy. Also, if you see the vocationalization of education, all this skill development that has been going on, part of it, 2/3 of the course is domain specific skill set, and the balance is on behavioral safety or on the soft skill, which focuses on the personality, building the personality of the So I guess there has been a belated realization. Prakash, I would like to add that yes, we have been thinking that yes, how to make the education more holistic and also wholesome, so that the people, the real development of personality takes place within the institutional environment. I think that is my take on that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
प्रकाश पंडा बाबू
Sir,
आपण एंटरप्रेन्योर ऊपर बहुत रिसर्च करछंती आ डॉक्टर संतुन जो सौरभ रथ कनाडा रु चाहउछंती एंटरप्रेन्योर मानको और स्टूडेंट मानको लीडरशिप ऊपर टीचिंग दवा पई
Again,
How to feel? How to feel? Is it excellent or how to feel? Connect to entrepreneurs. You want to go a long way.
I have investigated a lot about this subject, and I have found that this entrepreneurship is a kind of a thing which is supposed to be in the gene of people. We say that entrepreneurs are born not made, but actually entrepreneurs are made. It's a kind of a culture, or it's a kind of a upbringing that has to be brought in the society through which entrepreneurs can be created. So entrepreneurship education should be started from very beginning of the early childhood of a child, from very early childhood. So in our education system, we talk about philosophy, we talk about ethics, we talk about values, but we never give those kind of orientation to the children through which they can stand on their own feet. So what happens by that process, if that a value system is not been inculcated in the minds of the pupil from their very early childhood, at the times they don't get that confidence, they don't get that entrepreneurial ability to build something of their own. So a lot of I have also given a lot of focus on all these things. And the traditional value system in Indian context has been, we should complete our education, we should look for a job, and we should be migrating to outside the country, we should be migrating to other states. That kind of a value system has already been established. So that value chain has to be broken, because locally we can do a lot of things. Now, a ray of hope is being seen by this COVID-19. Why I am telling this? It's a blessing in disguise, because a lot of people, those who are migrating to outside, they are again coming back to their native places in search of their livelihood. So what is happening? In turn, now people will be thinking about creating their own livelihood options at their own native locations. That is the kind of a change that has come about over a period of time, and this COVID-19 has given us that gift. So in that context, I would like to say that our educational system need to be oriented more towards building up about entrepreneurs and creating more and more number of self-sustained people. We should give that kind of a confidence in the minds of a child, that he would be self-sustainable throughout his life. That means he cannot take help of anybody, neither his parents, nor his relatives, nor his brothers, nor his sisters. And in due course of time, he will be able to stand in his own feet. So those kind of thoughts, those kind of value system must be brought about in the minds of the pupil from their very early childhood. Sir, over to Saurabh, sir.
A very good point. I think I can't agree more. I mean, this is really perfect point you brought. There has to be these principles, this teaching, these things should be integrated into our education system. I can't agree more. At the same time, and of course, I also agree that COVID has really pushed us to limits. So we are working towards realizing our own potential. I agree with that as well. So this is called a burning platform thing. I was also, I wanted to also add that I always look at an optimistic way of life. so I wanted to add to it that if there are people who wants to be an entrepreneur, they lack the skills. I think the core skills can always be gained at any point of time. If they lack an idea, it's all right. But if they lack the entrepreneurial leadership qualities, like leadership, like for example, the grit, the determination, the persistence, the accepting the failure in a positive way, those kind of things we need to build in individuals. Once we build those talents, or rather I'd say positive qualities, then of course they will come up with their idea and they'll run move forward. And I think at any point of time in anybody's life, there is a method to this madness. There is a way to build or integrate, or rather not integrate, they already have it. just to make them aware that they already have those skills, and we can transform individual life. I have seen many cases in my own friends circles as well. I have seen people who are struggling at every front are now very high achievers, and there has been a moment in their life that made them to take those directions. And I think it's a possibility. It's always possibilities, and I always say that whether somebody has studied anything or not studied anything, everybody has an excellent opportunity ahead. It is just we need to have a right way to tap into it. So we should help every individual to tap into those hidden potential. I'm saying with conviction because I have felt it so much with myself and with many others that it is a possibility, irrespective of what they have gone through in their life, not looking at the past. But of course, I agree that going forward, how can you make it better for the future generations by integrating those skills or those learnings at early stage so that they don't have to struggle as much others are struggling today. I agree. With this, I would like to end my thought. Yeah.
Yeah, adding on also, I think government has, come out with a different schemes and policy measures, to encourage all the startups. Perhaps there is a, kind of a awareness lacking somewhere. And also, engage academic, so far as academic engagement with different institutions is concerned, OCF, this is where OCF comes in, reaching out to this academic institutions also through a very structured, a very intense program with live projects. We have a kind of a mentorship model also, because post training or post whatever module we design, they would definitely look forward to having some working on some projects. So this is where the mentoring support comes in. And I guess if we work together also, definitely we can create an atmosphere where OCF, government, and academic institutions can work on a very collaborative framework in a multi-stakeholder engagement platform. So that I think we should be looking at this possibility in near future. I think that is my take on this.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you, Saurav sir. Thank you, Dr. Santanu sir.
Thank you, Prakash.
Now you can
All great
conclude.
questions. Okay. So I think these participants are also coming down from.
No, we should
36
conclude
to
it. 2 hours is a
Yes.
great talk today and lot of things. Prakash,
I
Rao,
think,
thanks. 1 minute. Prakash, Rao, please.
Prakash, I think you can propose a vote of thanks.
Prakash, Rao,
Please.
please.
So on behalf of Odisha Corporate Foundation, I would like to thank Dr. Santanu sir and Saurav sir for focusing on very valuable points. Let us change for a change. So I would like to thank all the participants in today's evening session, and I would also expect that we all take the learnings from this session forward to bring about a change in our life in every aspect, in terms of our lifestyle, our profession, our social status, everything. So this kind of exposure would definitely enlighten our vision and definitely would lead us towards a greater future. Thanks to everybody.
Thank you, Prakash. Thank you, Saurabh.
Thank you. Santanu Babu, thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
Babu, many thanks. Thanks,
Saurav.
Prakash Babu.
It was truly interactive, and also the manner in which Saurabh also responded, I must appreciate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All the best.
Okay.
Have a nice time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Look